Yippee looks really sad, likely because of the upheaval at home.
This is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. Why would you subject us to this torture? Welcome to TeacherCORE.
Welcome to TeacherCORE.
Educator Andrea is joining us today.
Welcome. Thank you for joining.
Our first guest.
Thank you for
ever.
having me. Oh my God, really?
Yeah, you're
First
our number
guest.
one guest, our first one.
Amazing.
And best one.
Obviously. And
Yeah,
number one
obviously.
for all time.
How can we even have another guest after this? If this is
I know,
just
it's
Yeah,
really-
basically. Like, it's actually a little embarrassing for anybody else who has to come after me, but
It-
you know,
like a
it's
little
fine.
bit.
You're right. You're not wrong.
It's true.
Okay, so
I do
Andrea,
want to do.
I particularly know your lore. I've been following you since I downloaded TikTok. But for those of us who don't know, kind of tell us, walk us through how you got into education, where you're at now, and kind of that whole lore.
Okay. So I was never going to be a teacher. That was like never in my mindset because I knew for sure I wanted to make money, right? And so I was like, not going to become a teacher. I'm going to become a travel writer, or I'm going to do something. I was going to go into radio for a while. And so I kind of like made my way through some of those things. Like I worked at like a top 20 radio station in college and realized that everyone there was deeply unhappy. And I was like, oh, well, that's actually not the vibe I'm going for. Like I'm trying, one person was engaged when I worked there, but everyone else was like fresh from a divorce because you're gone on weekends, you're at clubs all the time, you're doing all these promos, you're with all these famous people, and you have to move all the time for radio stuff. So I kind of was like, all right, well, maybe I'll just do like travel writing. So I became an English major. And while I was going to college, I was working at a grocery store. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Wegmans. Do you have
Love
Wegmans where you
Wegmans.
live? Okay.
Yes, love it.
Wegmans.
Love it.
Obsessed. So where I grew up, they didn't have that, but they were opening one where I lived in Virginia. And so I helped like open, and I ended up becoming like one of the service team leaders where you're basically helping open and close the store. And I was put in charge of training all the cashiers. And pretty much all the cashiers were a bunch of like 16 to 18-year-olds. And so I like basically created a curriculum for teaching people how to run groceries through the scanner and like had
That's amazing.
like, you know, do you know like the fly swatter game that you can do for like vocab, where you write all the vocab words up on the board and then you just say the definition, you like race and get it. I had whiteboards up in like the front of the grocery store with produce codes on it, and I would be like banana, and they would all have to run up and like hit the banana code.
That's so
like,
Oh my
fun.
God, that's awesome.
it
The
was
pedagogy of the produce. That's
Yeah,
so
you
fun.
were
Exactly.
born to be an educator.
Wegman's vocab
Exactly.
101. That's insane.
Wow.
Exactly. And I loved that job so much. I worked there full time while I was going to undergrad full time. And I eventually graduated. And I was like, well, I can't stay, you know, I didn't like the weekends and holiday work, which you got to do if you're at a grocery store. So I got my first big girl job, which was a tech writer for a government contractor. And I was so bad at it. You guys, I cannot tell you how many days that I probably worked maybe a total of 20 minutes because I was undiagnosed ADHD at the time and bad at math, bad at science. And they were like,
Hey.
here's some
Present.
math and science. Yeah, like here is some math and science. I'm going to need you to edit the math and science so it's clear. But I don't understand any of the math and science. So how am I going to edit it? So it was such a nightmare. I was 1,000% a personality hire. I remember I would waste so much time. My lunch times, I remember I would bring raw bacon and they had a kitchen in there. I would cook up the bacon and make myself a fresh BLT
No.
at lunchtime. I was taking like 90-minute lunches. Like the fact I did not get fired is actually a little bit
Wait,
insane.
it's kind of ingenious though.
Yeah.
Me bringing in
It
bacon
was-
tomorrow.
Oh my God. It was ridiculous. So I ended up working there for 3 years. And while I was there, I was like, you know, what was really fun is actually just working with those teenagers and teaching them stuff. I didn't realize, of course, it's a lot easier to teach people stuff when they're literally getting paid for it, as opposed
Right.
to,
Right.
you know, teaching real high school where
Against
they are
their
legally
will.
mandated.
Right.
Yeah.
Very much
It's
against
the
their
last
will.
place they want to be. Right.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I ended up, while I was as a tech writer, I got my initial classes started and then got hired with an emergency teaching license at a Title I school. And so my
Wow.
very, like, never subbed, never did any of that. So my very first day in charge of students was when I got hired there, and I had so I'd never like done any subbing. I had no idea what I was doing.
And did you do any student teaching?
No, none.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You
Absolutely
were
none.
truly thrown to the wolves.
Yeah. And well, so when I was getting ready to go in, I was like, okay, like I was already married at this point. We had like bills. I'm like, I can't work for free for 6 months. Like we can't do it. And so I low-key stalked every single principal in the area. They would get monthly emails from me. Hey, it's Andrea. Just wondering if you had any openings available. I would love to come and work at your school because of XYZ made up reason about their school, right?
Mhm.
And I was so relentless that finally one took me on and hired me, probably just to like get me to stop emailing, essentially. So yeah, so I started there, was there for 3 years. It was a very rural public school in Virginia and got quite the education there. A lot of my crazier stories from teaching happened there, because I was teaching seniors and, some at that public school, they would be in school if they failed up until 21. So I had students that were like 20, 21 years old, and I was like 27 when I started teaching. So I'm only a few years older than them, and they can see that I don't know what I'm doing. Like that's clear. Um, and so, yeah, so I taught there for 3 years, then moved to California because my husband went back to school and we needed family help. Taught at a private Christian school for 3 years and then back at a large public school in Southern California for another 3 years. So I was total of 9 years teaching high school. And then during the pandemic, I decided that I was really frustrated by the way that teachers were being prepared or really not being prepared for the reality of the classroom,
Mhm.
especially teaching through COVID, post COVID. Like it was so different from anything any of the professors had ever experienced that I really wanted to be able to do a little bit more. So I got my doctorate in teaching and learning and curriculum and instruction. And now I'm a professor of teaching and learning at Indiana State in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Pop off.
And
Yeah,
she's writing Wegman's
Dang.
curriculum there as well. So she got
obviously, yeah.
her doctorate in writing Wegman's curriculum.
Obviously, if Wegmans
Yes.
hit me up, I would do that so quick. I love them. Danny Wegman and I, we could hang out.
Danny
I
Wegman.
was
Oh
the
my
the
God.
whole like Wegman family would actually come to all of the stores sometimes, and people would lose their minds. It was like, oh my God, did you know he's gonna be here today?
Wow.
Danny.
Yeah. Although apparently he had a real severe cocaine problem, but I don't know if that's like still
Ooh.
current. But there was all sorts
Okay.
of like, yeah, a lot
Wow.
of stuff like that was
Okay.
More people do
spoken about.
cocaine than you think.
Mhm.
That's
I
something that I
realized
learned in
that
college. More people do it
Yeah,
than you think.
truly. Truly.
I realized that my husband and I just had this conversation because we were on our way to Vegas with some people. I'm not going to identify how we know these people. And they brought alcohol in like cups. And I was so scandalized. I was like, we're driving right now. They're like, well, we're not driving. And I'm like, guys, that's an open container. And they're like,
Right.
yeah. And I'm like, this is a crime.
Oh my God.
It's like,
People
don't do
don't
the
care.
crimes.
Don't
And
do the
Yeah.
I'm
crimes,
such
not
a
the open.
yeah. I'm such a rule follower that I'm like, guys, that's against the law, and expecting them to be like, oh my God, really? Like, let's stop doing this immediately. And
Right.
they were like, yeah,
These
no,
grown
Yeah.
adults
we are,
being like, oh,
I
I had
actually
no
feel very
idea.
uncomfortable right now.
I was
I
totally
know.
that friend in college too. Like I was always the one that was like, I remember I had a big friend group. Like I was in college. Well, me and Mac were in, I think our junior year, COVID hit,
That was my
probably,
sophomore year.
right? Sophomore, I don't know. Before that, like when the world was still normal, I had a big friend group and they would always steal furniture from the dorms and like bring it into their room. And I was always the one every single time I'd be like, guys, we're gonna get in trouble. Guys, stop it, we're
Trouble.
gonna get. And then I'm like, that totally translated to me becoming a teacher because I'm like, you guys, these are the rules and we have to
Yeah.
follow them. So there's something about being like a paranoid little freak about everything that just translates very well to becoming a teacher.
That's
Right. We like the
I
insane.
think.
structure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the stress about the structure.
I
Yeah.
remember
So,
when I was like a toddler, my mom said, I don't even think I was a toddler. I think it was before I could speak. My grandma, I guess we were driving through some like parking lot, and it was my grandma, my mom in the front seat, and I was in the back seat with my little sister. And I was just like screaming relentlessly, just like at the top of my lungs. I was so
As
upset.
you do.
And as you know, as I do still to this day.
As you
And
do.
she, just part of it's who I am. Um, but they were screaming and screaming and screaming. They could not figure out what was wrong. And then my mom looked over and my grandma didn't have her seatbelt on.
That's
So
why
she
you were
put her
screaming.
seatbelt on and I stopped crying.
oh my
And I was
gosh.
like, that is the lamest BS I've ever heard in my entire life. Just that's such like
Oh my
middle
God.
child Virgo, like type A BS. Like what? That's disgusting. That is lame.
You're so
I was having a
Teacher
temper
life.
tantrum over my grandmother not
I
having her
love it.
seatbelt on.
That's amazing. You cared
And now
about her.
I'm a
You wanted her to
teacher.
be safe.
Yeah, you did.
And I did.
Exactly.
I didn't have the English
Yeah.
words to communicate that, so I resorted to temper
Just
tantrum.
screaming at the top of your lungs.
We love a
Honestly,
rule
very relatable
follower.
as well.
Can I tell you guys about what's going on in my class?
Please.
Is it
I
okay?
need more
Sorry.
I need more classroom lore because now I'm so like far removed
Oh my
and I
God.
hate it. So I love hearing about the chaos of what's going on in classrooms.
Did we have like preset questions? Because I don't want to go too off topic, but I
We have a
really do.
couple, but just keep
I want
talking.
I want to talk about what I'm doing in class.
What
Okay,
are you doing
so
today?
okay, hold on. You guys know about this. I don't think Andrea knows about this. So
Oh, the cat.
so
The wedding.
cats. I've had this cat for like 2 years. It's from a GIF of a cat jumping up and down, and they like screen grabbed it. Screen grab sounds so screenshotted it, and then they turned it into a plush. So it's like a really disproportionate, like not it's ugly, but it's so beautiful. His name is
Right.
Yippee Cat because he's so happy. He's been like he usually has like angel wings. He's been like hanging up in a corner of my classroom like a dark overlord. We love him so much. Every kid knows about him. It set off the security alarm in my school one time because I accidentally left it hanging up and then it like tripped the motion sensor because it was blowing because of the vents and then like
Crazy.
the cops had
No
to be called
way.
and like take down the cat in the middle of the night. So like
Oh my
he's
God.
a trooper, he's a soldier, Purple Heart veteran. Recently I went to my PO box and a second cat has hit the classroom. So
Oh my
so
gosh.
I approached my class and I was like, what do we do? Like, how do I add this to the cinematic universe of Yippee Cat? This is
Mm.
Yippiana. Now we have Yippee and Yippiana, and they're getting married. They're getting married. So tomorrow, I'm hosting a wedding for two plush cats. Each
Wow.
period I have, each each kid has a different role. I have like 4 kids per class giving dedicated speeches that I've already seen. Like they've written speeches. They've I have so much more. They've also had like they did premarital S apparently, so now they have a child. Um,
Oh.
Oh my.
so
Oh, the
I have
creativity.
I have party favors for
No,
all.
Julia.
I have
No, you did not.
my engineering department built me an archway for them to get married on. I don't know
No
No
if I
way.
way.
there's more to show you.
This is not real.
The
Oh
whole
my
school's
God.
involved.
Okay, hold on, wait. I'm coming. Can you hear
I'm
me?
so scared.
I'm coming.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not like she
Okay,
can
She
hear our
can't
Oh,
she
she
response.
can't
can't
hear our
hear us.
response.
There's a
Yeah, we
wedding
can hear you.
dress. There's a beautiful, gorgeous wedding dress for her to um
The sweetheart
go
neckline.
into with the sweetheart neckline. But okay, one of my classes decided that they don't want them to get married, they want them to get divorced. So we also have
Doesn't that
a
require
revenge
to get married
dress.
first?
We have to, yeah, so they
A
want to do a
revenge
wedding.
dress.
They want to do a wedding, but they want an objection to occur and they want this wolf right here. Hey, they
Oh
want this
my
wolf.
That
gosh.
actually just
Like,
scares the shit out of me.
they want it to be like the other, they wanted it to be like an other man type of situation for him to be like, I object. And then she has her revenge dress because she goes to him.
Khloe
I also
Kardashian.
have
This is her all the time. I hope you know that.
finally
Divorce.
free,
Finally
Finally.
free.
and I also
That's
have
crazy.
I
I
do. I did.
do
I'm done.
I'm done.
You're really
So
not helping the fine arts teachers don't have anything to do trope right now. So
Oh
So,
my
okay.
Yeah, how
gosh.
are we tying this into our learning target for the day?
So hold
I'm
on.
curious.
Hey, shut up. But also hold on.
What are the national standards associated with
Yeah.
this divorce?
So
Mhm,
they
mhm.
just finished their self-portrait assignment, but like it's weird. Like 80% of the class is finished. No, like it right now it's like 50-50. Like 50% of the class is finished, 50% is still working. It wasn't enough kids for me to introduce the next thing. So I
Mhm.
had them developing decor, which is like the
Okay.
dumbest thing
It's still
ever.
art. It's still
The
art.
dumbest thing ever. And it that doesn't tie to a learning target, but it was only for like a day and a half. So I was like, whatever, like it's
Yeah.
fine because I needed time for the rest of the class to catch up. We're about to move on to a new unit, so this is like a class party situation where they're just
Yeah.
celebrating being done. And also, I don't care. It's gonna be so fun and they're
It's
gonna
gonna be
remember it.
fun.
They're gonna remember it more. They're gonna remember me doing whatever in class.
They're
So
not gonna
like,
be able to sleep at night. They're gonna be so
yeah.
excited. Are they
I had
dressing up? Please tell me they're dressing up.
No
I have
way.
some
Oh
kids
my
that are
gosh.
dressing up.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
dressing up. I know I'm dressing up for sure. I have a girl that's bringing in donuts. I have like it's just gonna be a fun class
It's gonna
party.
be
And
great.
they've been so
I love
dedicated
that.
to it. I've had kids coming in like their study hall period to help with the decor, like outside of class time.
That's
So
so
Oh
cool.
my
so
God.
I've been running around all day, and that's partially why. And like I have to stay after this podcast to rearrange my room to like move the desks into an aisle
An
format and
aisle,
then
yeah.
the chairs on both sides. They're
Great.
dedicated to the cause, and
Wow.
I have to go.
Uh,
So sorry, that was my
what?
tangent. I had to tell you about
n-
that. Thank you.
No,
Love.
what grade? What grade are you teaching?
High school.
I figured. Yeah,
Yep.
this sounds like the kind of
So high
full
school.
send commitment that would
And you can
be
Yes.
see you
I
can
saw
see
the
all of
art.
the yeah.
It's
They love
They're gonna
beautiful.
remember
they love
Yippiana for the rest of their days. They're gonna
Yippee.
tell
Yes.
the next generations about Yippiana and
Yeah,
the
what is the
revenge
learning
dress.
target for this?
Maybe I can zoom in to it
Shut
tomorrow.
up. Wait,
That would
what
be
time is the
I'm
actually,
wedding?
gonna record
yeah.
it.
What
I'm
Please
time
gonna
is
do.
the
record
wedding?
it. It's gonna take a while to edit faces out of the video, but it's gonna be like a
What
beautiful
time is
It'll
this
be
wedding.
good.
wedding?
It's every
Yeah.
period. So I'm
Second
having
I will
one
block.
be
at
zooming in
I want
every
to zoom in
period.
during second block.
I'm having one at 7:30. I don't think I have a class second period. So I have one at and then we have study hall. And then I have one at 10:30, one at 11:30, one at like 1 o'clock. Like
I'm zooming
it's
in at 11:30. I'm FaceTiming you at 11:30.
I love
you
it.
can. Oh my God. So
That's
so yeah.
awesome.
So
Oh
that's
my
what I've been
God.
up to. How are
You
you
need to
guys? We need to talk
you
about
need
like
to
crazy, huh? Sorry.
you need to edit it together so that it's like some of those like wedding TikToks, where people are like, my wedding in review, or do like
Yes.
a get ready with me with Yipiana.
Oh my
Yes.
Yes. Oh
Like
my
get
gosh.
ready
Get
with
ready with
me.
me.
Wait,
In the
Yeah.
that's so
bridal
funny.
suite, getting ready
Yeah.
with her girls.
And then there's
Hmm.
Hmm.
controversy because the makeup artist charged her like 8 grand. Have you seen those videos where like, oh my God, the makeup
Yes.
artists for weddings are insane?
I
Oh, we're going deeper and deeper. This is not safe for me
This
to.
is no, it is
no,
not.
I just saw one where there was a wedding like this bride was in Vegas and she got a celebrity makeup artist, and the makeup artist canceled on her the day before because he said he had like a family emergency, but then the next day he was posting videos and content of himself with Paris Hilton partying with her. And
No.
he says it was both, like, oh, I had to go back because my mother was in the hospital, but also then I went and saw my good friend Paris Hilton.
Oh, perfect. Oh,
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Wild.
period.
mean,
Period.
hanging out, doing your job, hanging out with Paris Hilton.
Right. To be
Especially
honest,
with Paris Hilton is also your job because he was also Paris's makeup artist.
Okay.
So
Oh,
it was like, am I going to make this bride have a beautiful day and fulfill my commitment, or am I going to go hang out with Paris Hilton and do her makeup?
oh,
Kind
right.
of
moral
a
dilemma.
Doing your job in
Hmm.
teaching or FaceTiming me and viewing the wedding.
Yeah.
And
Watching the
Let's
wedding.
Well,
decide.
that's an obvious choice.
Yeah.
So
right.
we're not gonna deny. That's like a moral
Yeah.
dilemma.
But
And
I feel
it's
like that relates because so much of your content, Andrea, because I watch you too, is telling insane ass
Yeah.
stories from the classroom. Summer from you. I forget, do you take requests and read off other things too?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like yeah, that's whole part of your thing. I
Yeah.
want to
So
know like the craziest thing that you've
oh my
heard
God,
or talk about whatever you're going to talk about before.
there were so many. No, so the way I do it is for the longest time when I was still in the high school classroom, it would just be my stories. And then when I left the high school classroom, I'm like, okay, well, I watched back because at that point I had like 3 years worth of videos. So then I watched back some of my early videos and retold the stories in a different way. And so for a while I was able to keep that going. And then I'm like, there's only so many times I can tell like whatever story it is before people start being like,
This is
all
the same
right.
story.
So
Yeah, we've heard this before.
exactly. So then on Instagram, I do a what are those kids doing every Friday? And people will submit like the most chaotic, insane stories to me there. And that's most of what I will present, unless it's like a story about my family or, visiting a school and stuff like that. But I
Mhm.
feel like it's hard to say like this is my most chaotic story because I feel like they all fit into like different genres, of
Mhm.
chaos.
Yeah.
Like I I had there was one time where and this isn't like even that insane. There was just this girl who, she had her laptop open and had her phone kind of like propped in it, like they do. And she's like, "Oh, like, can you look at my slideshow?" And so I'm looking at it. And while I'm looking at it, her phone, she like swipes up and opens it and opens her snaps. And she got a D pic from one of the other boys in my class
Oh.
and had opened it while I was
Oh.
looking at her computer screen. And I was just like,
Oh my
What do you
God.
do with like do you have to
Yeah,
report
what did
you
you
have
do?
to report
yes,
that?
I had to report it. And that like I was like, oh my God. Number one, that's child's that is an under 18 person sending naked pictures.
Right.
And so I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a crime.
This is a
This is a
little bit of a
crime.
crime.
What
And in the
what
middle
was
of
her
class?
reaction? What did she do? Did she like slam her phone?
She was like, oh, and I was like, girl, it's too late. Like it is
It's too
too
late.
late.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
done.
Did he
So
send it like in the middle of class? Like it was just
yes.
like it's just a picture he had on his phone?
Yes. And I get like, I don't know if they were seeing each other. I don't know if because the unsolicited D pics
Mm-mm.
sometimes
Whoa.
they do show up. I don't know if she'd
Mm.
asked for it. They've been kind of
But in the
flirty.
middle of
So
class?
That's wild.
Oh my
What?
and
God.
it was like, and I don't know why, but this feels more heinous to me. It was like first period. That's
It's
so
7 in the
early in the
7
morning.
in the
Yeah, it's
morning.
Yes. I'm like, you guys.
That's
It
happened to
was
me before with feet pics. Like a kid has been like, look at this, look what I just got, and it's just feet. And I'm like, first of all, why are you showing me this?
I'd
Why did
rather
I need to
that
know?
than what?
Why did I need to know?
I would
Second
definitely
of
go.
all, why'd you get that? Why'd you get the
Dude,
feet?
because probably
if
There
because
there's
are
he was
one
way
thing
gonna.
about
more
being a woman, you
feet
know.
lovers than you know.
No, it
You,
was a girl that showed me a picture of a dude's feet.
that's what I'm saying. If you're a woman, you know. Guys
That's
just
true.
send the most like egregious stuff unprompted.
That's
Unprompted.
true.
Hmm.
Do you
That's true.
guys, if you guys get an airdrop request, do you open it in class?
Oh, I made the
Like,
mistake one time of opening it. Yes, and it was like the most insanely derogatory meme I've ever seen in my life, and I had no idea who it was from. But other times,
Yeah.
no. I have it turned off. I turn it on for specific things, like if a kid wants to send me something, I'm like, yes. But
Yeah.
yeah.
other times, no.
It stays
Yeah,
off.
I don't have it for anyone unless they're in my contacts.
Same.
But
Okay.
if we
Yeah.
take class pictures, we'll airdrop.
Yeah.
Like I'll say from everyone for 10 minutes, but I've never
Mhm.
had that problem before.
Yeah, I've never had somebody want to airdrop me something randomly. I think I was like maybe 20 and I was in an airport. And like
Yeah, I was gonna say
a
on a plane.
teenager was like sending me like memes. It's just like some like
What?
12-year-old girl just sending me memes like I like your phone case. And it'll be like Squidward's face on it.
That's so weird.
Yeah, let me
Yeah,
turn this off.
I would usually have it open for whoever, mostly because I'm nosy and I want to make sure they're not talking crap about me and airdropping some nonsense. And so and my like phone isn't like Andrea's iPhone, it's just like a number. And
Okay.
so they weren't trying to send it to me. They were literally just trying to airdrop it to everyone who had an iPhone in the class. And so they would, but usually it was just like really filthy or racist or other profane stuff just because they wanted to see a huge reaction.
Right.
And so then I
Mhm.
would just have to collect all the phones. So I stopped accepting the random
Yeah.
airdrops. I would just say I usually am just like I am also getting airdrops. Maybe don't. And then they'll be like, oh my God, because they don't
Oh
realize like I
yeah.
don't
Yeah.
I don't know who
Yeah.
sent it. So there's nothing
Uh-huh.
I can do about
Putting
it.
putting phones up has been like the biggest savior, I think,
I
in
agree. It's so nice collecting them at the beginning of
my ability
class.
to teach. Yeah, I
Yes,
have that like
everything
phone
is
slot
there.
thing.
Yeah, they're more engaged and you don't run into those problems
Yeah.
with it.
Ugh.
It's been
Yeah.
so nice.
Because there was
I
problems in my school with them airdropping really awful things to each other.
yeah.
Not like a couple of years ago, and then they implemented the phone thing, and I don't even know if those kids still go to the school. Like it was a while ago, but then they were like, all right, we need to crack
Yeah.
it down on that. We got to stop. So it's been so much better.
What state are you guys in?
I'm in Mass.
I'm
Oh,
in
Maryland.
Virginia.
Oh, you guys are all different states. I didn't
Hmm.
realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because in Indiana, they like just this year pushed it out that like, okay, now you can officially say no phones at school, but local districts have made the decision not to actually enforce it, which is insane to me
I
because
know. I would be
How
like,
would
I
you
finally
know?
got the approval from the state to do this 1000%. We're
yeah.
actually, that's going to be fully enforced for us in January. So it's going to be
Okay.
our whole entire district. So we're kind of like doing soft launching with it right now, where I just have them put it in a phone box, but they can be on it in the hallways and during lunch. But
Yeah.
come January, it's like you can't be
Nothing.
on it at any point,
Wow.
Oh
which
wow,
is going
we
to be
still have hallway.
interesting
Yeah.
because a lot of kids, the only time my kids will take their phone out of the box is if they're going to the vending machine and they have Apple Pay.
Hmm.
But then they come and put it back. But I don't know, like, what do we say to the kids like that?
I don't
You know?
We
care. I
Yeah.
like
we
at that point,
Yeah.
if you have access to a credit card, not
Hmm.
having your phone is not your biggest problem in
Hmm.
life. I
Yeah.
feel like it's all just parents being like, but how am I going to contact my child? It's like the same way that your parents contacted you when you were in school.
yeah.
They either
Yeah.
didn't or they just called the office.
The
Hmm.
thing that
Right.
frustrates me the most, and it's definitely a sensitive issue, it's the safety issue. But we got a lot of like I think 3 years ago we implemented this, and we got a lot of pushback on Facebook and stuff like that about it. And a lot of the argument from parents is like, well, what if something happens and I'm not able to contact my child? And it's like you have to look at it from an outer perspective and think, if I want my child to be safe, do I want them worried about want them to be looking at their phone? Or do I want them
Mhm.
to be like looking for exits
Aware.
and
Yeah.
walking and running away and like being present in the moment? Like, I don't like if I had I'm not a parent, so I can't
Yeah.
say, but I'm like, if I had a
Right.
child, I would want them to be like very in tune with their surroundings and be walking and what, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just like that's always the thing they go to the most is the
Yeah.
safety issue. And I get
Yeah.
it from like a fear standpoint, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like
But it all it's doing, if you have a phone in that scenario, is giving you the illusion of safety or the
Yeah.
yeah,
illusion of control in some way. Like it's not
Right.
actually going to keep you safe in any way, shape, or form. Like
No.
literally, and a lot of times they tell you, like, number one, don't be on your phone because it's gonna interfere with communications between
yes.
all of
Right.
these different people. Like that was always my response to when people had said, like, no, like kids need to have their phones because, there's all gun violence and all of this stuff. And I'm like, okay, but like if my kid, and I am a parent, like if my kid's at school and that's happening, I only want them thinking about surviving, not calling
Hmm.
me in the midst. No, like
Right. And it's
barricade a
also like
door.
the last thing that this police department needs is like 1,000 parents showing up
The,
and almost making
Yes.
it worse.
yes, showing up or calling.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Like blocking the phone lines, but even just like being in the area, they want the
Yeah.
least amount of people in that area at that time. And
Hmm.
even if that was happening, how do you think your kid is going to get to you if they're like,
Yeah.
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 That being said, if something like that went down, you better believe I'm at that school so
Oh,
fast. I'm
100%.
like,
Yeah.
My
shit.
kid, I'm
Like
there.
Right. And I'm
I'm
sure
there
either
so
way,
fast.
like the alert now is what we have will fly out
Yeah.
immediately, like, and that's how it is when there's threats. Like the alert now will notify the parents what's happening and they'll
That's
still
good.
probably show up anyway, or at least
Mhm.
that's how
Yeah.
our school system works.
Yeah.
And their phones are
Yeah.
still in the classroom. At least for me, they're right by the windows. So it's like I'm on the first floor. So if we're dipping out the windows, like if there's time, like okay, fine, get your phone on the way. But at the same, it's just like come
Yeah.
on. Like having the phones up, I feel like we talked about this before in another episode, so I apologize. But having the phones up has decreased the amount of fights,
Yeah.
Hmm.
decreased the ability to record the fights, so then the fights don't happen because if you can't record them, what's the point of fighting?
Yep.
Um,
I think
truly.
skipping,
Yeah,
honestly,
and
Skipping, yeah.
skipping.
so we can't have them, they cannot have their phones on them in the hallways during class time. So if they ask to go to the bathroom, they
Mhm.
have to keep their phone in here because that was the biggest problem is they were out of class for so long because they were just lapping and yapping and being on their phones and then recording all the fights along the way. But
Yeah.
they can have it during passing period and during lunch and during their study hall period. But Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so
Anyways.
good to hear that it's actually been a positive change for you guys, though, because
Mm.
I've heard very, I haven't heard from that many people that actually are in schools that are enforcing cell phone bans. So that's, oh my gosh, I just like almost knocked my headphones right off.
I
I
feel
have
like
too
I
much,
can
I
talk to
like
them
when I,
like people. Like they,
Yeah.
even if we have
Yeah.
extra class time, it's not spending like, all right, just go on your phone. It's like, all right,
Yeah.
we have to
right.
do something together.
I
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
think the kids have definitely voiced. They're like, I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Like it's nice. So, I
Because
mean,
if
it's
even if
good.
you
They
have it on your
finally get a
desk,
screen time break too.
Right.
even if you have it on your desk like face down, there's still that just that the
Temptation.
begging to check it and just like it's like even I have my phone right now. There's some weird human thing, I think post-COVID especially, where it's like, check me, hey,
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
check me. So
Yeah.
having it like out of reach just helps so much, I
Yeah.
think.
Mhm. No, I
Yeah.
agree.
I kind of wish I had somebody to do that for me to just like put it in a lockbox and tell me
Yes.
I'm not allowed to touch it during the
Hmm.
workday. Like,
Right.
I need someone to be my adult.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it motivates me too. If they're locking theirs up, mine's gonna be the same. I'm
Right.
like, I'll
Yeah.
do the same thing. And it's nice to just have a break from it. Like, oh, I haven't been on my phone all morning, all day. Like, it's so good.
Yeah. It is
Right.
funny to hear like adults complain about how much kids are on their phones, but it's the same people who are like manic over Facebook and like
Yeah.
Candy
they
Crush.
can hardly, yes, they can hardly put their phone down. And it's like,
Mhm.
babe, just because they're younger doesn't mean
Yeah.
that
Right.
you have a fully developed frontal lobe and you're doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Speaking of almost developed frontal lobes, how is it teaching? Ooh, segue. How's it teaching? How is it teaching? Oh, segue's going to trash. How is it teaching college versus high school? That's what I was trying to say.
Is
You got there.
everything
The
okay?
immediate self-deprecation, unnecessary.
I
You're
spent a
gonna
day.
can you
Trash,
please
trash.
be, JD, you have to be easier on yourself. You are
The
too
way
We,
hard on
you
yourself.
oh my God, we
like,
have a literal
girl.
apology jar
I
for
was
her.
concerned something was happening. I wasn't sure
I was
if you
having
were okay.
A
a
stroke.
mental breakdown. Having a mentee B
Crashing
over
out
Just a
here.
because
mentee
you
bee.
couldn't
Crashing out.
finish
Yes,
your
Full
you
crash
sentence.
still
out.
you still know the terms, even though you're out of
I
the high school classroom
because
setting.
uh, because I work with so many, well, number one, chronically on TikTok, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
unavoidable.
Yep.
And I also work with all college students. And so I am there and I'm in the middle schools and stuff. To answer your beautifully stated segue,
So well articulated.
Thank you.
working with college students is so much easier in every conceivable way than
Mhm.
working with high school students. I expected, and I don't know, maybe it's just because when I posted I was switching to college, and I was like, one of the things I loved about teaching high school, especially at a school where there were kids that had a lot of, some of them pretty crazy high needs and stuff like that. Um, and I liked that I felt like I was really contributing. I felt like I was really a help in their lives. I knew I was, for some of them, like one of their steady adults in their life. And that was really meaningful to me. And when I switched, I was like, concerned about losing that. And a lot of people were like, no, 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 you'll still definitely be that because, in college you'll have that. But the problem is I teach juniors and seniors in college. I'm not teaching freshmen. I'm not teaching kids that are like
Yeah.
fresh out their parents' house. I mean, pretty
Mm.
much everyone, by the time they get to me, they are already juniors and seniors. Like they've got their friend group, they've figured themselves out enough that it's not the same. So I really miss like that camaraderie that happens from the crew that like shows up before the first bell and just hangs out, and the crew that like
Yeah.
comes and like sits in at lunch and wants to talk to you and tells you about all of their crazy drama and all of that. Because uh, teaching as a college professor, even though I really like try and build relationships, I only see them 3 times a week. And so like we hang out basically what ends up being like 3 days a week, and that's only for half the semester, and then they're in the field. So I don't even see them for the
Mm.
full semester.
Mhm.
So it's much, much easier. It's much less stress, but it doesn't have some of the parts of teaching that I really love, where I'm like, I there's such a level of like intimacy when you're working with these kids at such a crazy young age, and they're trying to process the world around them, and you're spending so much time with them, and they come to you asking for advice and all of that.
Right.
And now at college, I'm just like, all right, guys, here's your assignment, and they do it or they don't
They
do
just,
it.
yeah.
And you know, it is amazing to me how anyone could think that, and this is, I say this too much, but teaching college is the easiest job I think I've ever had in my entire life. And
Really?
I am not
I can see that.
exaggerating. And very possibly because I'm not a STEM professor. So I'm not like doing science
Mm.
experiments and stuff. But if you are,
Okay.
don't you love that? So
Yeah.
I mean, I teach a few classes and then, but like if I don't want to have class, I literally could just be like, hey guys, I'm gonna post a discussion board, go respond to that. And then I don't have to go to work that day. Like
Yeah.
it's that simple. And so the mental load of teaching high school where you are on from the time you step on that campus till the time you step off, like, and then sometimes when you get home you then are grading, you're prepping, you're doing whatever, like it's just such a drastic shift
Hmm.
And there's
to
no parent
college.
communication either.
It's illegal
Right.
for me to
That's
talk to their parents.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Right.
That sounds like a
Wow.
not a dream. I love my parents if you're watching this. Love you. Love you so much.
But
But
there's
like
some that you could do without.
it just
Yeah.
there's a level of intimidation that'll always be there if you're communicating to a parent about their kid.
Mhm.
I feel like not
Yeah.
I don't know
Hmm.
if it's intimidation, but like you're accountable to somebody other than whatever.
Right.
Because I was gonna
Yeah.
ask though, like, is it because I don't know, I would feel like in a way it would be more intimidating to teach college because it is more of like an elevated thing. Like high school, I can get away with some things if I like slip up on my words or whatever. I'm like, oh, they don't know that I slipped up, so it's fine. But like
Right.
college kids that are in the major, they're in it with you. I don't know if it's
Yeah, I think it is that is something that I've had to adjust to, especially because I'm teaching future teachers
yeah,
about teaching strategies.
Right.
So if I try and stand up there and lecture at them which I never do, but like if I just stood up there and was like, here's a PowerPoint presentation and here's a lecture for our hour and 50-minute class, like they're not going to tolerate that because what I'm saying is literally this is
Right.
bad teaching. Like you can't
Yeah.
teach like that.
That's
So
true.
so they do like it keeps me on my toes and keeps me accountable. I wouldn't say it's intimidating so much as like it's humbling at the end of the year when they leave those reviews because they are not nice sometimes. Like,
Really.
oh yeah.
yes.
Do you get to read
Yeah.
all of them,
Is it
right?
Yeah.
Rate My Professor? Are
So,
those
oh
the
my
reviews or
God.
it's different?
So I last I checked, and I haven't checked recently because I don't have the soul for it right now. But last I checked, I didn't have any reviews on Rate My Professor with my first year of teaching. But they, as part of like the university system, they give like a feedback thing, and you have to get rated on a scale of like 1 to 5. And the problem, of course, is just like with everything else that like you don't like have to leave a review. So you don't usually leave a review unless you're really mad or you're really happy. And that's the same with college classes. And so I
Yeah.
had one class last year that the reviews, so it was a class of 17 students, 9 people filled out the reviews, and 3 of them really did not like me and really scored me very, very low on a lot of different things. And some of the stuff they scored me low on were fair. Like I had a hard time getting back graded work to them. Um, I suck at that. That's always been something I suck at. I got better this year. Like everything has been back within pretty much a week, but last semester I was garbage at it. So fair. But then there were other things that were like said that I played favorites and stuff like that. And I'm like, did I play favorites or did you just like not want to talk and I respected your ability to not talk? Because you're a
Right.
Yeah.
grown up.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
you're 21, 22 years old. If I
Yeah.
ask a question and you sit there in silence, like
Yeah, we're
I'm
I'm gonna
all
not,
move
adults
on.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So there were a couple of those, but I sent like a whole email out. So petty. So I
I
sent an
love
email
it.
out to everyone who was in that class, and I was like, "Listen, guys, I just got the feedback from the end of the semester. You're definitely right on like I need to grade things faster. That's a fair criticism. I'm really sorry if some of you guys felt like I played favorites. I actually thought we had a great class, and I really liked all of you. And kind of like wrapped it up that way. And I didn't get a single response from any of them, even though I still see them because the way it goes is like you have your 300 level class, which is middle school instructional strategies, and then 400 level class, which is high
Mm.
school. I teach the
Okay.
middle school one, but we collaborate. So we have days where my last semester's students and my current semester students, we all get together. And so I had to be with them fairly recently, and I thought I wasn't still butthurt over their reviews. I am. I was like, which one? Which
Yeah,
Was
one of
it?
you
who was
guys?
it?
Yes, because I honestly thought we were cool. And if I had been able to be like, oh, it's obviously these three that hated me and I knew why, that would have been a different thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, which one of you guys hates me though?
Hmm.
Because it's not obvious the way you're talking to me. I
Right?
Right.
And like
hate that.
if you're gonna hate me, just be more obvious because I just assume good intent from everyone. And then I got like my just got my feelings hurt with that. So yeah,
Wow.
that is one of the weird things is like teaching high school, you have to kind of go out of your way to ask them for feedback if you're going to get feedback versus college where it's like they're going to give you feedback and you have to look at it because
Yeah.
it's part of the review process of the university.
And they're angsty
So,
college students. No one, it's not, you're typing it into a computer screen. It's just like a comment section. Like
exactly.
they're just gonna
Yes.
say every negative thought they've ever thought suddenly is all the thoughts they've ever thought. That's the only thought negative, and they're just gonna put that out
Yeah.
as if that's any help.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
and I do think that's a big part of it because I would so prefer having them come to me in person and be like and still put those comments, but come to me in person and be like, "Hey, we really needed to get like this feedback sooner so we could make adjustments in time." Be like, "You're right. I
Mhm.
suck. I need to do better." As opposed to like everyone acting like everything's cool and
Right.
then like
Yeah.
I bought them donuts on the last week of our semester. Like I want my donuts
That's
back,
crazy.
honestly.
Yeah.
Shoot, I want a
Right?
donut.
Give them back.
We've
Right?
talked about donuts now twice in this past hour, and I feel cheated that I don't have a donut right now.
I
It's
mean, if you just
ridiculous.
attended the upcoming nuptials of Yippee and what is it? Yippiana?
Yippee on it.
Yippee-yana.
Yeah. Yippee and
Oh
yippee
my
on it,
God.
which is like sending me still.
I'm
That's
gonna
so
be I'm
crazy.
gonna be a godmother to to Yippee Junior.
Yippee Junior. They're calling it Yippeth.
Yippith?
Yippeth.
Yippith looks really sad, likely because of the upheaval at home with the
The
divorce.
people at home.
There's
Mom
Oh
Oh
my
made him
gosh.
gosh.
go get the revenge dress. She dragged it with her.
Yeah, the revenge dress, truly.
Oh
Oh my
God.
God.
so
Okay.
Megan and or Mac, what are you guys doing anything crazy in your classes right now? Any weddings or anything like that?
No,
No
I'm
weddings.
not. I am teaching the youth how to drive, which is always
Oh my
exciting in my health portion of it. Nothing crazy like that. I think the only thing like kind of close is I have an elf on the shelf in December and I hide it every day. And the kids are all about it. And I just like put it in the ceiling. And they act like and I did this in middle school too. And they act like they're like too cool for it. Well, I have to do a little story time. It was my last year teaching at my middle school, and it was like hiding up in the bleachers. And the next morning, I come in, I go to hide it, and I can't find it. Like someone has stolen Elfie. So
God.
I immediately make this like kidnap sign. Like I was like, it's 7 inches tall. It's like this, whatever. I put on this huge paper. The media center like got it printed for me. The security guard is looking on the cameras to see where the heck like Elfie went. And the morning announcements, we were showing that every morning, obviously, and it was live. So it was like breaking news, and I run onto the screen and I'm like announcing to the whole school, like Elfie has been stolen,
Oh my
like a
God.
reward, like that. It was like everyone was so into it, and people thought like because it was truly, I think it was like the day or two before Christmas break, so people thought it was like oh me being like oh Elfie's coming back from the North Pole. No, 1,000% someone stole it.
Yeah, the
So
Grinch.
everyone was like, "Where's Elfie?" Like so invested in it, and it actually turned out so. A local high school would come and do color guard practice,
Uh-huh.
and so our security guard Erica, shout out if you ever listen to this, she saw him take it from yeah. So we were like, we knew it was a high school kid. Our resource officer called up the local high school.
Not the
And
resource officer.
yes, and had it delivered back to me in a Christmas bag with an apology letter from the
No.
student. Swear it was like and so the principal
Oh
calls
my
me
God.
and made him talk to me on the phone. And y'all, I'm in the office like
No.
I could not stop like I literally had to like push the phone out and cover my mouth because I was like, this is fun, whatever. And he is like, voice is shaking, urgent over the
Oh,
phone, and I couldn't even
this
speak
poor kid in color
because
guard.
I was like, yeah, the poor color guard kid that was like, oh, I'm gonna take this. Like, literally got the elf from Dollar Tree. Like, just picture it was like with the
Can
fat little
you
butt, so it sits straight up. Yeah, and
imagine having the SRO show up? You would be losing it.
yeah,
Like, did
like
you take something
yeah,
from
I need
that
to say
Jail
it
school?
to
time.
you.
Literally getting
Yeah,
interrogated about an elf.
it was like
My God.
it was one of the best moments of my teaching career. I still have like the folded up huge poster that I made that said missing Elfie. Like I have it all.
Oh my
It's in
God.
my office. It was incredible. Like
I love that.
truly one of the highlights of my teaching career.
And
Yeah.
it's
Did
just
you?
the thing about committing to the bit. Like
You
you just
have to
like you
commit
have to just
because if
like
I missed a day and they're like, "Well, Elfie didn't move," I'm like,
mhm.
"Okay, they're into it. They
Yeah.
do like it. They
Yeah.
do like they would
Hmm.
walk
They
in and
look
they'd be
for
like
it.
looking up at the ceiling to the rafters in the gym, like where's Elfie gonna be? And like if I was in the classroom that week, Elfie came. Like I was
Oh
like,
my
he's
God.
calling us, and the
I love
girls were like,
it.
"Well, he's never in the locker room." And I'm like, obviously he's a boy. Like he can't be in the girls' locker room.
Duh.
Like so
Right.
then I would hide him like
Yeah.
over in the boys' locker room. Like
Oh
it's
my God.
incredible, truly so fun.
I love
Oh my
that.
God, that's
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 so
so
Yeah,
amazing.
funny.
funny.
it was
What
great. It was
about you,
actually like
Mac?
I'm like so ready for it to be December now, so I can just like get on that again.
Oh my God.
And the
I'm
high
ready
schoolers
for
love it too.
Thanksgiving.
Like
They love
you have
it.
to do it, the silly things with the
Yeah.
teenagers. They appreciate it
Hmm.
so much.
They do.
What about you, Mac? What's going on with you?
Honestly, so many things are happening with me right now. I don't even have time to think about else, right? We just wrapped up like our county like district choir. On top of that, we're planning all the winter stuff. So like winter concert, caroling is huge in the choir realm.
Oh,
So like
fun.
that's a good time, but there's just and we're doing Mamma Mia this year. Rehearsals for that start next week. So I'm just
Amazing.
like not ripping my hair out, but I like silently crashed out during second block yesterday because I was like, I don't,
This is
Too
a lot.
much.
I like emotionally exhausted. No, literally, if you look in my direction, I'm gonna cry. Like,
Yeah.
don't talk to me. I can't do it. Also, I have horrible memory. Um, it's such a slay because I forgive easily. So if a kid does something insane, I truly like don't remember. Like they have to come up to me and talk to me about it. In class, we're in one of my it's like foundations in music, like music appreciation. We're writing parodies to songs right now.
Oh, I love
So
that.
yeah, we looked at like Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo.
Oh,
And you have the kids, you have some of like the girls who are like, oh my gosh, I love this song, it's gonna make me cry. And then I have this one kid. He is like a certified hater. Like anything that comes on the screen or like anything that's said or done, something about it is it's just like the worst thing he's ever heard in his
I
life.
have a
Like there's
student
no
just
way.
like that, and now I'm gonna identify him as a certified hater. So thank you for that.
Certified
That,
hater. Terrible.
Love,
He's a
yeah.
freshman
love.
boy. If you hear this, yes, I'm
Checks
talking
out.
about
That
you.
checks out too.
Please. But certified hater, and like nothing is good enough for him. He literally had like a fit when I started playing Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo, was like holding his ears, like this is the worst. Oh my God, like he was like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, why would you like subject us to this torture? And he was so serious. Like he was pulling out vocab words I didn't even think that freshman boys knew.
Ooh.
But now he's getting really into the parody thing. And I haven't said anything yet, but I'm winning.
Yes.
Because he's taking a song
That
by
is
like
a
by
win. That's a huge win.
Coldplay. And first of all, is Coldplay better than Olivia Rodrigo? I don't know. I think they're different. But to
They
say
are.
that Olivia Rodrigo is so terrible and Coldplay is your okay, to each his own. But he's writing a parody from like a different perspective from Viva La Vida by
Ooh.
Coldplay. and he's
Wow.
getting really into it.
That is a
That's the
win.
best.
And I'm
Yeah.
winning. I'm winning.
Yeah.
Are you
Everybody's winning.
letting them use AI for that
For that, no.
officially? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
But we've talked about AI a little bit about like the kind of like the songwriting world and
Mm-hmm.
kind of using it there.
Yeah.
They produce a lot of music, especially the past month. They've been like producing a lot of music, so we've been talking about that. But they're not allowed to
So
use AI
cool.
for this.
Nice.
But I'm winning.
You definitely are
That
winning.
is, that's for sure a win.
I love that.
That's amazing. You should do like diss tracks too. He would probably thrive in that as
Oh my
well.
God, he would. I did a
He
diss
really
track
would.
at the end of the year last year. We did like a songwriting project, and one of the things that I
Hmm.
said that you can do a diss track.
Yeah, he will thrive.
Amazing. I'm very excited.
Hmm.
Very
During
excited.
my student teaching, I had a student who oh my God, I had this super rowdy photography class. And I figured out that the only way, this is not the only way, but it worked. The only way that they would do work for a good 50 minutes is if they had like a good 5-10 of karaoke at the end of class. But I had one kid, high school, and it's like the teenagers, they just like surprise you with how willing they are to be so silly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I had a kid that really liked to write verses, and he wrote an entire diss track against another student in the class to perform. And they were friends, so it was like fine. Like they did it both against each other. I still have a video of
Mhm.
it on my phone. It was like 4 minutes long. He brought in sunglasses and he brought in a chain. And he just stood up in the front of the class
Yes.
and was like,
Necessary.
the whole class too was like, the whole time. It was so
Yeah.
funny. It was the
I love
best.
it.
It's
I
those
love
little
it.
moments that just make up for everything else, I feel like.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
With
I tried to do this activity with my students once, and we were doing, the epic rap battles in history one.
Mhm.
And we did one that was like, it was like Harry Potter versus I can't remember who, but literally none of the students had ever seen Harry Potter. And I was like,
Hmm.
and I'm not a huge Potter person, but I thought there was enough like cultural knowledge around it
Yeah.
that they would like
Yeah. I
get
get
the
it.
jokes
I feel
incorrect.
like, yeah, that's
Incorrect.
universal.
But I thought, but no, they were literally like they didn't know. And Mac, have you never seen Harry Potter?
I wasn't allowed to, okay?
Oh, me
Okay.
neither. Me
I grew
neither.
up
I wasn't allowed
super
to until
conservative Southern gal. I was
yeah.
not allowed. I would get demonically possessed. It would
But I bet
confuse my thoughts.
you were still probably allowed to read C.S. Lewis though, huh? Little Lion, the Witch,
Hmm.
and the Wardrobe. Those
See?
I
witches
I
are
I literally
okay.
joke about this with my mom all the time.
Same.
She I was not even allowed to watch like Wizards of Waverly Place. Or
Oh,
like if a music video came on, like in during the commercial, I had to like mute the TV.
oh
Oh
wow.
no.
And we weren't allowed to celebrate Halloween, like couldn't even dress up as a
Okay.
princess or anything.
Yeah.
However, when I was 10, I had to stay home from school because I was like deathly ill. She suggested that I watch Braveheart. And if you've never seen that movie,
There's
it's about this like unit of a man back in
mhm.
like medieval times or some garbage. I think they're Scottish. I don't even know. There is an entire like sex scene in like the mountains, so like next to
Mhm.
a river, and I'm 10, not allowed to watch Harry Potter, Wizard of Waverly Place, any music video, anything on Cartoon Network besides Scooby-Doo.
Hmm.
But I can watch,
Wow.
right?
Your mom's like, but
But it's Braveheart.
listen,
It's
hear
different.
me out.
Hear me out.
Allowed to
Wow.
watch Breaking Amish. That was the show I
Oh,
wasn't
I
allowed to
love
watch.
Breaking
I
Amish.
loved that show.
That's a
She
Yeah.
thought
very
I,
niche thing to not
I
be
know.
allowed to
yeah,
Very.
watch.
I think she thought I would be influenced to like rebel,
The
which I
Amish? Oh.
was. I didn't need to watch the show for that to happen.
Were you Amish in any way,
No,
shape, or form? She was
nope,
just
not even
like,
religious.
You know what's
look at
crazy?
those.
My
What?
on my mom's
Interesting.
side of the family, they're all Mennonite,
Mm.
which
No
is like
way.
it's like Amish light.
It is the lighter
Yeah.
version of
And
Amish.
so
Mhm.
my grandma left the Mennonite church to marry my grandfather.
Scandal.
And I'm like, you wonder why I have such a rebellious spirit,
Yeah.
grandma.
Yeah.
It's
Like
It's you, Nana.
it's you. It's
Yeah.
you, babe.
Hmm.
And thank you for that. And I appreciate that.
No, I had
I
the
cannot,
same
y'all.
experience with Harry Potter growing up. My mom, I also wasn't allowed to like trick or treat. Halloween
Yeah,
was bad, and but I knew that you were probably allowed to watch maybe even Lord of the Rings too, because
I've
those
never seen
were
that.
okay. Like, well, Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were like
Yeah,
known to be Christians, but they still use like wizards and magic and stuff like that. My parents were
right.
totally kosher with that. That was those were the good wizards,
But it
but
came from the Bible.
it did not.
Narnia came from the the magic
Narnia.
came from the Bible.
Right,
Oh
It's
my
right,
Jesus
gosh.
exactly.
magic.
It is Jesus magic, as we all know now. Yeah.
Right, right. It's
Yeah, but
different.
so if you're trying to, teach some rap battles or whatever your class, that's not the reference,
Maybe not
sadly,
that.
that they will understand. It is hard though, because a lot of rap battles have so much language in it that a lot of
Yeah.
schools it would not fly. So I had to try really hard to find, and even that one, I think there was like some bad language in the one that I showed, but I was like, it's probably fine. But
Honestly, especially I think we can get away with this one with high school, but even like when the Kendrick and Drake beef was going on,
Yeah.
I found like a semi-clean version on YouTube and we like listened and analyzed it like as a
yeah,
class. And I'm like, hey, this aligns with standards.
right.
I'm educating
Sorry.
the youth
Yeah.
here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Okay.
welcome.
It's
I
If you,
feel
connecting
like
it to their lived experiences.
you could
right.
definitely do a whole one with Eminem and his Diddy track, right?
Oh my God.
The
Oh,
line.
the like colloquialisms, the metaphors, the like wordplay, please.
Yeah.
Eminem
Mm-hmm.
is that
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah.
Head
Exactly.
diva.
Oh
You
my
have to just like
gosh.
take a marker to some of it so that you don't get fired. But other than that,
This is a wine cozy. There's coffee in it.
sure
No
there
one was
is.
Yeah.
Sure,
questioning.
yeah.
Yeah, no.
Hey, open bar wedding.
Yeah.
Kidding.
For the
Jokes.
Oh
teenagers.
my gosh, for Yippee.
Kidding.
Oh
Oh my
gosh.
God. The mocktails that we have to make. I'm gonna make
The
a menu. Just kidding.
mocktails.
Nope, I'm not. I'm not.
Have
If you're
like
watching
apple
this and
juice
you're in my community,
champagne.
I'm not. Yep.
Nuh-uh.
Yep. Hey, if you're my
Well,
admin and you're watching this, it's lasting 20 minutes and then we're going back to doing work and we're introducing a new unit. No beverages will be had, donuts only,
Oh,
and then we're
the
moving
third
on. That
time.
was a joke. Please laugh.
I want a donut so bad. Andrea, what is a piece of advice you have? First of all, ask about kids going up into college. A piece of advice you have for them as a person who deals with their shenanigans all day. And part B is what piece of advice would you have for maybe a public school teacher or like whatever looking to go into teaching at a university?
okay. So for students headed to college, I think the first thing would be it's so hard because I feel like frustration tolerance is so needed and so not there for so many, where like the second you come up against any kind of resistance or something is hard, you just quit. And I think that is one of the things that really separates the students who graduate and the students who quit and just end up not graduating college. So that would be one piece. But another piece would be finding a group of people that are aligned with like your motivation and want to study, and having people you can actually study with, because there's been a bunch of studies that have come out that have said like the difference between people who graduate with like really good grades and all of that and the people who don't make it through, and like this is like med school and all of that, is having people to study with and having like a community around and creating a community around like progressing in your education. So those two pieces are incredibly important. For the longest time, I was so convinced that a PhD wouldn't be necessary and I could just get my master's, and I would obviously just based on wanting it bad enough and being persistent enough that I would just be able to find a job in a college. And that's the case for some people. Usually at a community college, you might be able to land something. But for almost everyone, if you want to work at a university, especially, you're going to have to get a PhD.
Full
Unfortunately, I
time,
always,
for sure.
yeah, like I always hate to say it because it is a very long time in school. And I don't want people to be dissuaded from getting a PhD because they think they are not capable of getting one. I know some people with PhDs that are so dumb, like so dumb. It has so little to do with how smart we are and so much more to do with the fact that we're just willing to keep going to school.
Mhm.
And it's a time thing. Like you end up being in school for so freaking long. So my big recommendation is rather than getting a master's and hoping that master's is going to lead to you getting into a college position, like if that's what you want, then get the PhD, because I have two master's degrees and a PhD. And I really wish I had saved my money and time and just got the PhD, because
Yeah.
those extra two masters don't do anything. No one's hiring me because they're like, wow, cool, you have a PhD and two masters, amazing. It just means that I have more in student loans, sadly.
Right.
So
Yeah. You
if
spent a
that
lot
is
of money.
so much. And my other thing would be to recognize that depending on the university you're at, you are likely not making that much more than a actual like classroom teacher.
Yeah.
For me and the local schools, and Indiana teachers don't make very much. I'm only making about 12 grand more a year for having, an extra 6 years of school and all the debt that comes along with it. So I think it's a little bit managing expectations. Like, number one, you absolutely can go get a PhD. Like, you're capable of it. If you're teaching, you're absolutely capable of getting a PhD. Like, teaching is way harder than getting a PhD. It's just a matter of devoting the time and energy to it. But then also when you do get it, like, don't expect it's going to double your pay overnight, sadly,
Right.
because I was really hoping it would. Because everyone told me that, and I was like, well, that's crazy,
Well,
because
that's
I'm
good to
obviously,
know.
Yeah.
Is
because
the
people
pension
think,
comparable? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
so I don't know what the retirement's like in Indiana. I do know that the retirement at the university I'm at is pretty good. So they give 10% a year towards my 401k. And then I can put in, I think, up to like however much that they will also match. So
Wow.
like that piece is really good. And like I said earlier, like I am under way less stress. My
Right.
day-to-day life is way, way less stressful. And I can do a lot of the things in my classes that I didn't have the emotional and creative energy to do when I was teaching high school,
Right.
just because you got to turn and burn. Like you don't have time all the time to be like, doing a wedding for your stuffed cat, because sometimes like
Yeah.
you're just too burnt, like those are the fun thing. But seriously, like those are such fun memories and fun things that when you're burning out, like you don't have the emotional ability to
Yeah.
handle.
Right.
And I feel like in college, I'm really fortunate that I do have a lot more time to process and brainstorm and do fun things and stuff like that. So I don't want to discourage people from becoming college professors because it's really fun, but I also don't want people to think that like it's all green on that side of the
Yeah.
fence, because it's also, we're all dealing with different levels of nonsense,
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. That's really good.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. It was
Thank
great
you
to
for
have
having
you.
me.
Guest number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where can we
So
find you?
thank you. So many places. Educator Andrea on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. I'm almost never on Facebook because those comments get so crazy and I cannot.
Awful.
So insane behavior over there. And I also have a podcast called Those Who Can't Do. And I've got a live show coming up in Indianapolis called the Teacher's Lounge that I'm doing with Gasper Randazzo and Phil Lindsay. So we're going to be
Wait, I
hopefully...
love Randazzo.
That's
Sorry.
amazing.
They're so fun. They're so fun. I'm so excited. So we're hoping that's going to end up in some cities around the US in 2025. So there's going to be a website soon for the Teacher's Lounge comedy show. But yeah,
Awesome.
That's so
Love
fun.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love
we
it. Well, thank you
appreciate
so
you.
much.
Yeah, we really do appreciate you coming on here and sharing your wisdom and stories.
Yeah, it was
So
my
thank
pleasure.
you.
Anytime.
Definitely.